Hey, bricks and mortar retailers, welcome to this week's video. And today we're going to be talking about cash flow and small business cash flow problems that we experience as bricks and mortar retailers within our stores. So cash flow is one of those very important things. It's something that we all suffer from. A lack of cash flow is something that we all suffer from at some stage during our business building careers, if you will, when running our stores. And it can be really disheartening trying to figure out where all the cash is going in your business and where it's magically disappearing in most cases. So what I want to run through today is give you some tips and also give you some strategies behind you and ways that you can implement into your business to get out of this basically this cash flow crunch that you're in. So let's just dive straight into it. So basically, what is cash flow, right? So cash flow is the movement of money in and out of your business over a specific period, and cash is the lifeblood of your company, and it keeps your business running smoothly. And just think of it like a flow of water through a pipe. Just as water needs consistent flow to keep things running, cash needs to move in and out of your business. It needs to flow through your business in a sustainable way so that it can continue. You can continue operations through your business. So it's actually the cash that's going to be really important for you to help you pay your bills, help you pay your team members, help you pay yourself. One of the major misconceptions that we have, or one of the major points of confusion for bricks and mortar retailers, it's this the terminology of the difference between cash flow and profit. So I want to just try and clarify that up a little bit right now. So profit represents the amount, excuse me, represents the amount left over after deducting expenses from your revenue. So whereas cash flow focuses on the actual movement of money. So you can have a profitable business on paper. So you've taken in revenue, you've got rid of your expenses, so you've made a profit. But you could still struggle with cash flow if the money is going to be tied up in accounts receivable. In our case, it might be tied up in inventory or other assets. So profit is usually a term that we use that we see on our balance sheet and profit and loss statement, and cash is the real physical cash. Both are very important, but it's the actual physical cash. If we start to optimize our businesses for cash flow as well as profit, we can then start to see more cash in our bank account, which will then allow us to pay our suppliers, pay our team members, and ultimately pay ourselves as well. So it's really important that we drive cash flow, but also we drive profitability as well. So like I mentioned, without positive cash flow, you might find it very challenging to cover your day-to-day expenses and all those other things which I've spoken about. And monitoring and measuring your cash flow effectively is vital to maintaining the financial health and overall sustainability of your bricks and mortar store. So why do bricks and mortar retailers struggle with cash flow? You know, it's one of those things where I guess we never really get taught how to manage our cash flow. And even if you go to business school, very few business schools cover the whole cash flow situation. And so bricks and mortar, you know, the way that we operate our stores plays a role in cash flow dynamics. And inventory management is a critical aspect that requires upfront investment and ongoing monitoring. And balancing the right amount of inventory while avoiding overstocking or stock outs can be really challenging and thereby impacting our cash flow. So if we're, for instance, buying too much stock, or if you're buying too much of a particular kind of stock, that's how we get into this cash flow situation where it's just sort of sitting on the shelf and tying up and doing nothing. The other thing is seasonal factors can also influence this, basically boiling down to our inability to buy correctly and manage the variances within our store. The other way that it happens is basically we tend to pay our bills like all the cash goes into our trading account, and then all of a sudden bills get taken out. And it's really important that we try and maximize the amount of time that we have to pay a particular bill and really stretch our cash flow as best as we can. So really, and it all boils down to why we have cash flow problems is basically because we don't track, analyze, measure, forecast our cash flow. Once we start to do that, once we start to really pay attention to what's going on, it makes it so much easier for us to manage cash flow and understand the flow of cash in our bricks and mortar store. And the real struggle starts to happen, when we have really poor cash flow. It, like I mentioned, goes down to makes it very difficult to reinvest in our store if we want to do that, difficult to pay our team members. And this strains our business operations. And then it starts to strain everything else going on in our lives as well. And basically it just leads to one very, very big headache. And I guess one of the major things about having poor cash flow restricts our ability to seize opportunities in the marketplace. And that's a real struggle for us as retailers, because as we know, there's quite a big seasonal component. There's quite a big variational component of products that we sell. And if we haven't got our cash flow situation sorted, it's going to make it very, very challenging for us to potentially capitalize on opportunities in the store. And the struggle then also gets really, really worse when we can't really make our loan repayments. And that's when it gets really, really challenging for us as well. The struggle comes in, we have to call our bank manager. We also have to talk to suppliers because we can't pay suppliers on time. So it's really important that we address these cash flow challenges and overcome these obstacles to maintain health, the financial health of our bricks and mortar store. And so, there are so many mistakes that bricks and mortar retailers make. But I would like to probably bring up again the major problem that the biggest cash flow problem that face bricks and mortar retailers today. And this boils down to a lack of knowledge in managing cash flow effectively. And that is the biggest problem. And once we understand how to manage our cash flow properly, we're going to obviously have less cash shortages in our business. We're going to be able to pay the rent, pay the payroll, our purchasing power increases. And so it all boils down to having really good cash flow management practices. And I want to run through a few of those, but the major mistake that we make as bricks and mortar retailers is we don't track our cash flow. Tracking your cash flow is so important. The major mistake that we make is we don't track our cash flow. And if we try to track it, where most retailers get stuck is they overcomplicate the process. And we need to make sure that we keep the tracking process very, very simple. And we track our cash flow weekly. And we do it in a way that's really, really super simple. It's not enough to rely on your accounting software to do that. It's not enough to rely on your bookkeeper or accountant to send you reports. It's really something that you need to grab a really good grip of, and it's something that you need to do yourself initially in the beginning so that you can really start to handle and get a grip on how the cash is flowing through your business. So that's the number one biggest problem that bricks and mortar retailers have. So what I want to run through now are some solutions that you can implement into your bricks and mortar store when you are in a cash flow crunch. So the first one is leading on from what I was talking about before, which is to budget and forecast. So again, as bricks and mortar retailers, we tend to overcomplicate this process, but budgeting and forecasting is exactly that. It's about creating a comprehensive budget that outlines our expected income and expenses. And what this does is provide you with a financial roadmap so that you can make informed decisions. Making sure that you forecast your cash flow will help you anticipate any shortfalls or surpluses and quickly allows you to take proactive measures. So budgeting and forecasting is so important. So that's one thing you need to do. The next thing you need to do is you need to look at your cash flow management techniques, which I spoke about earlier. But adding further to that, Cash flow management techniques are things like using tools and software that automate the invoicing, perhaps payment reminders, and definitely cash flow tracking. But you want to also do things like talking to suppliers, extending your payment terms, talking to your bank, perhaps reducing rates. All of those are excellent cash flow management techniques, which you need to start implementing straight away. I spoke briefly about inventory optimization. So we want to make sure that we're carrying the right amount of stock, not too little so that we're going to run out, not too much that it's going to start to sit on the shelf. So we're going to have to optimize our inventory. And part of optimizing our inventory is making sure that we have less dead stock, because effectively that's reducing our holding costs. And overstocks is basically just dead money sitting on the shelf. And we need to have systems and procedures in place so that if we do have dead stock, we can convert that into cash very quickly. So make sure you have those sorted in your store. But I want to mention here that analyzing sales data and using your point of sale system, analyzing fast selling and slow moving items from your point of sale system is going to help you with your purchasing decisions. And that will help you immensely with your cash flow. It just still surprises me how many of us bricks and mortar retailers are underutilizing our point of sale systems. And when it comes to cash flow and ordering, it's such a great tool that we should all be using. So make sure you figure out how to do that. Of course, there's expense reduction. So expenses obviously will affect your cash flow, and you need to have a system in place to review your expenses thoroughly and regularly, so that you can negotiate with all your utility suppliers and also your wholesale suppliers, like I spoke about in the inventory part of it. Making sure that you're seeking competitive pricing and you're continuously exploring opportunities within your store to reduce your expenses, because that's going to generate a lot of cash for you and you're going to have surplus cash left over. The next part is the whole managing of what I call credit management, which is the management of receivables and payables in your store. So you want to make sure that if you've got receivables coming in, that you establish really clear credit terms with your customers to encourage prompt payment. So many of us might have customer accounts, and many of us have 30-day accounts. We need to make sure that we bring that forward for our sake. So have a 7-day payment terms with your clients, or better still, put everybody on direct debit. So at the first of every month or the end of every month, you're automatically collecting funds. And that's so important. Just setting up a little system like that will allow you to have much better cash flow. So credit management is so important. If you're just use that particular tip I mentioned, and that'll give you so much extra cash in your business. So there you go. There's a little bit about cash flow for small business owners, retail business owners there as well. Those tips will allow you to recognize what is going on into your business, to give you some sort of structure in understanding how the cash flows through your business. And also there as well, there are some tips there on how you can increase cash flow in your bricks and mortar store. So that's the end of the video. Please make sure that you give this video a like and a subscribe. And down below, you'll see a link to our Facebook group. We have a Facebook group with a community of bricks and mortar retailers where we discuss all things running retail businesses. We'd love to have you on board. Click the link below. And until next time, ciao, ciao.